Hey everybody, welcome back. Music Corner. As always, I'll be your host, LaMelo Ball here, and it's been a while since I hopped on to YouTube to record a video. Since I was last here, I released my best of 2020 year-end lists. I will link all of them in the description. But today we are doing something a little bit simpler, a trope per se of many music channels and blogs and websites. We are going to rank the discography of the White Stripes. Two members, Jack White and Meg White, 6 albums between 1999 and 2007, and when they were done, one of the definitive rock bands of the 2000s, a collection that so many people love. They had a number of hits in here and proved to be incredibly influential to rock music, and I'm a big fan. It's no secret that I'm a big fan. I have had White Stripes records on display a couple of times in previous videos, and if you know me, you know that I am a huge admirer of Jack White's songwriting and guitar work. So as difficult as it can be sometimes to put these 6 albums in order because of how much admiration I have for them, we're gonna do it. And we're gonna start with number 6. Now, there isn't really a common worst White Stripes record in the way that there are for a lot of other bands, because opinion can vary greatly when it comes to these albums. But for me, I'm going with the band's 5th record, Get Behind Me Satan, from 2005, in the number 6 spot on this list. Now, calling a record gimmicky is more of an insult than I think a lot of people realize, because it implies that there's not a whole lot of great songwriting or performances at its core. But gimmicky is a word that often gets thrown in Get Behind Me Satan's direction, and with some of its lead singles, it's easy to see why. You have the very chunky, driving Blue Orchid with those squeaky, kind of high-pitched vocal melodies that are not a lot of people's tastes, and you have the admittedly charming but very gimmicky track My Doorbell, and those 2 songs kind of set the stage for what this was, which was a period of experimentation for the band, trying to break free of their garage rock origins, and it doesn't quite work every single time. While there are some great songs on this album, like The Denial Twist, many fans consider that to be one of their best tracks, there are also a number of songs that just don't really seem to live up to the caliber of songwriting and energetic performances that the White Stripes were known for by this point in their discography, and there are some strange experiments and diatribes that just don't really click with me still to this day. There are a lot of people who really love this record, and it's a testament to the band that I like this album. There's a number of songs I like on here. I'm much more mixed towards the record than I am negative, but it does land at the number 6 spot as my least favorite of the band's records. Coming in at number 5, we have The White Stripes, the self-titled debut album the band released in 1999, arguably their most raw, straight-to-the-point, lo-fi project in a very punk ethos. There are only a handful of tracks on this album that run over 3 minutes. We're dealing with short songs, and a lot of them. It's the longest track list of any of the White Stripes records, even though it's not the longest album. And there are highlights all over the place, from the punchy, absolutely berserk Jimmy the Exploder to the more somber approach on a track like The Big Three Killed My Baby. Very strange and surreal moments that don't seem to go together. Tracks like I Fought Piranhas with songs like Sugar Never Tasted So Good. The versatility of the band is on full display right away on this album. Unfortunately, pieces of this record sort of fall into generic tropes of garage rock and punk rock music at points. It's not always the most compelling, and it's not always the most versatile, particularly looking back on this record, seeing some of the sounds the band approaches done so much better, so much livelier and more energetic on later projects. There's no doubt that this is a fantastic debut album, a great tone setter for one of rock music's most legendary runs, and just a ton of fun to take a bite out of. But compared to some of the more substantial, influential, and impactful releases, it just falls a tad short. Coming in at number 4, we have the White Stripes' final album, 2007's Icky Thump. Now, this saw the band drifting further away than ever before from what they were known for, from their core ideals of garage rock and alternative rock, but often doing it with great success. There are a number of all-time great White Stripes songs that appear on this record. It kicks off with a blistering, intense, and strikingly unique title track. We get into songs like 300 Mile Per Hour Torrential Downpour Blues. We have tracks like Effect and Cause. Jack and Meg are showing off their personality in brand new ways all over this album with great results. There is very little that I don't like about this album, honestly, and it is contained to just a handful of its tracks, but the only issue I have with Icky Thump is that when it goes wrong, it tends to go wrong in very theatrical, almost melodramatic ways that feel like the antithesis of the rock music spirit that was at the band's core through their first 3 or 4 albums or so. All in all, I think this is a really good album, and I recommend it to just about any fans of rock music. When you're dealing with a discography of this caliber, there are obviously going to be some good, maybe even great, but not legendary releases falling by the wayside, and that's the case of Icky Thump. This is a good record. I like it quite a bit. I recommend it. It's just not one of my favorite White Stripes albums. Coming in at number 3 and starting off the top half of the list, we have the White Stripes' sophomore album, DeStyle. This is an awesome second step that the band took totally in the right direction that holds the ethos of the debut album's recording style and songwriting approach intact, while also interpolating some other genres that Jack White has always had a huge affinity for. You have a track like Apple Blossom here on this record that proves that Jack White is not just a blind rocker looking to make as much noise as possible. But if you are looking for a song that absolutely rocks and makes as much noise as possible, this record has got you too, because there are absolute bangers on here, like Hello Operator, one of my favorite songs of the band's entire career. Yeah, this thing is awesome. Pretty much from front to back, there are very few songs that I would consider misses, and while it may not have some of the highest highs of the band's discography, there is so much here that I just love, that hits repeatedly. It scratches the right itch. Sometimes I'm in a mood where I just want to listen to DeStyle because it's going to go again and again and again, hitting the right notes and absolutely thrilling at every turn. Coming in at number 2, it is the record generally considered by most people to be the band's best, their 2003 album, Elephant. While I understand why so many people unequivocally believe that this is the best White Stripes album, it has fallen to 2, not because I think it is anything short of incredible, but because I think it is narrowly short of another masterpiece within the band's discography. I could sit and talk all day about the greatness of Elephant. It is the peak combination of the band continuing to make raw, exciting rock music with a commercial viability that they never quite had before. No song displays this better than the opening track, Seven Nation Army, a now iconic and instantly recognizable tune all over the world. But there's so much else worth exploring here. If you are a fan of that commercial rock music, you no doubt remember a song like The Hardest Button to Button, and if you were a fan, you probably think back really fondly on a track like The Air Near My Fingers. There is just one highlight after another on this thing, and it is hard to put the record stylistically into a box. After all, the song Well It's True That We Love One Another is the closing song to this record and sounds absolutely nothing like anything else in the band's entire discography. But like I said, it feels like you could break down every song on Elephant explaining why it's so good. The multifaceted Ball and Biscuit is a rock epic and a total masterpiece, as well as the groovy and charming Girl You Have No Faith in Medicine. It's just like you could roll some dice and pick a song on here and it would either be a strange little moment like Little Acorns or In the Cold Cold Night, or an absolute jam like Black Math, and it hits almost 100% of the time. And yes, to the surprise of just about nobody, one of the records I have consistently called my favorite of the 2000s and one of my favorite rock records of all time is also my favorite White Stripes record, the band's 2001 album, White Blood Cells. What a masterpiece! What a masterful level of execution that they are operating on across this entire album. This feels like catching lightning in a bottle over and over and over again, and making these songs that are incredibly exciting but unique and multifaceted. This record has so much to offer. The versatility of songwriting and performance on display here is remarkable. From its biggest and most well-known rock ragers, like the absolute jam Dead Leaves in the Dirty Ground, or the instantly infectious Fell in Love with a Girl, to moments where the record slows down and charms you on tracks like Hotel Yorba and The Same Boy You've Always Known. Yeah, there's almost nothing bad I can say about this record, from its biggest, boldest, loudest tracks to its smallest, most bite-sized moments. Even the interlude style songs here, or dare I even say gimmicky type tracks, hit. Tracks like Expecting and Little Room are kind of amazing with how simple the ideas at their core are, yet how phenomenally they are executed and put on display. The back half of this record, which kicks off with a remarkable trilogy of We're Gonna Be Friends, Offend in Every Way, and I Think I Smell a Rat, is just as engaging and versatile as its first half, and for the band to keep up this momentum across the entire track list is just the mark of one of the great rock albums of the 2000s, and in my opinion, one of the great rock albums of all time. Nothing about this is necessarily sounding expensive or grand, but everything that Jack explores is nuanced. This is not punk in its most stripped back and basic form. It is truly alternative rock that interpolates all kinds of fun influences and crafts them into something that is entirely the band's own. I think this is Jack and Meg at their most poignant as lyricists, at their best as songwriters, and the results are fireworks from start to finish. I can't find anything bad to say about White Blood Cells. So yes, there you have it. 6 White Stripes albums, ranked definitively from best to worst. I will be back in just a few weeks, actually, with the recap, talking about some of the biggest and best records I've reviewed so far in 2020, and beyond that, I would love to do more of these. It's a fun little video and concept to jump into when I don't have anything specific that I'm working on. I have the first of my 2 big 2011 lists planned for March, so maybe in April I will jump back around and try out another discography. Leave a comment if there is something you'd want to see. I'd love to take on a bigger discography. I'm hoping to start with bands that are done recording and releasing new music, just so I can make something definitive. It won't be aged out of its list, or I would have to go back and update it later. But yeah, that's the plan for the future. Thank you for sticking around. Alice thanks you for sticking around. And see you next time.